You ever seen a man lose his wife, his dignity? Okay. And his entire storyline in front of cameras, judges, and millions of people, all before lunch? Because that's exactly what just went down with Lil Scrappy, the self-proclaimed prince of the South. Now reduced to a headline that reads like a deleted scene from Love and Hip Hop. Apocalypse Edition. Picture this. A tense courtroom. Flashing cameras outside, whispers bouncing off marble walls, and then boom! Bambi walks in like she's about to accept a Grammy for Best Betrayal in a reality TV marriage. Hair slicked, heels sharp enough to slice egos, and lips ready to drop a nuclear truth bomb that would end careers and test marriage vows written in disappearing ink. And when she spoke, let's just say the judge needed a smoke break. Stevie J needed security, and Lil Scrappy, well, he needed a time machine, so buckle up because this ain't your average celebrity mess. This is a courtroom catastrophe. A betrayal so theatrical, even Tyler Perry would have said, "Cut." Too much drama? What did Bambi confess? Who set the trap? And how did Stevie J turn heartbreak into a full-blown power move? Let's break it all down, piece by scandalous piece. The courtroom was packed like a movie premiere. But what was about to unfold wasn't scripted, was real life melting into chaos. Reporters leaned forward, bloggers whispered into their phones, and even the bailiff's jaw was tense. When Bambi walked in, every eye turned. She didn't walk like a woman scorned. She walked like someone who had come to end a chapter. Her steps echoed. Her stare was steady, and the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Lil Scrappy sat there, motionless, his expression unreadable. The man who once rapped about loyalty and struggle looked like he'd stepped into his own nightmare. The judge barely settled in when Bambi raised her hand and swore to tell the truth. Her voice didn't shake. It sliced through the room like a blade. "I lied to protect him," she said, her tone calm but final. "But I'm done protecting." A silence followed, deep and dangerous. Everyone waited for the next sentence, and when it came, it hit harder than a punch. She admitted she had been having an affair with Stevie J. The name alone was gasoline on a fire. Cameras clicked, gasps rippled, and someone in the back muttered, "No way." Stevie sat there with that smug grin that had started more scandals than anyone could count. Arms folded like he was enjoying the show. Scrappy didn't move, but you could see it in his clenched jaw, in the way his fingers dug into the table. He wasn't just angry, he was shattered. But what came next proved this wasn't just an emotional confession. It was a performance. According to whispers around the courtroom, this entire move had been planned. Stevie J, the self-proclaimed puppet master of reality television, had supposedly coached Bambi for this very moment. Anonymous sources claimed she'd been promised her own spin-off if she flipped on Scrappy publicly. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was strategy. The judge looked confused. The audience leaned in, and Bambi went further. She pulled out a small USB drive from her purse and placed it on the table. "Everything's in there," she said, eyes locked on Scrappy. Messages, recordings, everything. The room froze. Even the court stenographer paused. That tiny piece of metal suddenly held the power to destroy reputations, rewrite contracts, and expose the entire machine behind the scenes. Then came the words that twisted the knife even deeper. "This wasn't about love," Bambi continued, her voice low. "It was about production." She explained that she and Stevie had been quietly planning narratives, rewriting their own storylines, creating moments meant to paint her as the victim and Scrappy as the villain. Every argument, every tear, every so-called real fight had been rehearsed. Scrappy wasn't just betrayed by his wife. He was used as content. The man who thought he was living his truth discovered he'd been living someone else's script. The courtroom didn't just witness a marriage collapse, witnessed the collapse of an illusion. The courtroom air was thick with tension, the kind that makes every breath feel heavy. The USB drive sat on the judge's desk like a live grenade. The clerk plugged it in. And within seconds, the entire room was watching evidence unfold that would flip the narrative on its head. Audio clips played of whispered conversations, texts projected on a screen. And suddenly the truth began to sound uglier than any rumor ever told. Bambi's voice came through the speakers.com and collected, discussing scenes, camera angles, and how to make herself look like the misunderstood wife while turning Scrappy into the uncaring villain. You could hear Stevie J in the background coaching her, laughing, promising her that once the show aired, she'd be the star and Scrappy would just be another storyline casualty. Scrappy sat there, frozen, like a man listening to his own funeral being narrated live. The audience shifted uncomfortably, reporters typing faster than they could breathe, the judge rubbing his temple as though regretting his entire legal career. Then came a twist no one saw coming. The prosecution requested the contents of the drive be entered as evidence, and suddenly Bambi's calm cracked. Her hands trembled. She tried to explain that she never meant for it to go this far, that Stevie had told her it was just for TV. But then Stevie stood up, dressed like he owned the room, and gave a smirk that could curdle blood. He claimed she wasn't telling the whole story, that there was more, much more, that could ruin everyone sitting at that table. The judge ordered him to sit down, but the damage was done. Every camera in the room turned toward him like he was about to deliver the next plot twist of the century. Then, with the precision of a man who knew exactly how to control a scene, Stevie placed a thick folder on the prosecution's desk and said it contained everything. The judge ordered it to be labeled Exhibit H when the contents were opened. Chaos erupted. There were bank transfers, secret contracts, even fake LLCs that tied back to production payments. It looked less like a love triangle and more like a money laundering operation wrapped in reality television. Scrappy's lawyer demanded an immediate review, and that's when whispers began about possible criminal charges. This wasn't just infidelity anymore. It was a conspiracy. The judge's tone changed, colder, sharper, as he announced that a financial misconduct file would be opened. The courtroom felt less like a divorce hearing and more like the first episode of a federal investigation series. Scrappy stared at the floor, breathing hard, realizing that every tear, every argument, every televised heartbreak had been monetized, repackaged, and sold while he was living it. Bambi didn't look at him, not once. And Stevie, arms folded again, leaned back like a man watching a fire, started burn exactly how he planned. The next morning, the courthouse was surrounded by reporters, camera crews, and fans shouting as if they were waiting for a red carpet instead of a legal disaster. When the session resumed, the energy inside had shifted, heavier than before. Like everyone knew they were about to witness something that could change everything. Scrappy walked in slower this time, his usual confidence replaced with a kind of hollow silence. He didn't look at Bambi or Stevie J, not even at his mother sitting quietly in the back row. The judge entered holding a thick envelope marked Exhibit I, and announced that it contained a sworn statement from an anonymous VH1 staff member. As he began reading, you could see faces around the room turn pale. The statement accused multiple producers and cast members of deliberately sabotaging Scrappy's reputation in exchange for higher pay and spin-offs. It listed names, meeting times, and even mentioned that Mama D had been part of private storyline discussions. Scrappy turned in disbelief toward his mother, whispering, "Tell me that's not true." She said nothing, and the silence hit harder than any confession. The judge ordered a short recess to verify the affidavit, but no one moved. Everyone just sat there absorbing the fact that this was no longer about love or betrayal, but about manipulation on a corporate level. When court resumed, a new piece of evidence was introduced. A recorded Zoom meeting labeled Exhibit J. The video played on a large screen showing blurred faces but clear voices. Producers discussed how Bambi's emotional breakdown scene would guarantee ratings, and how Scrappy's anger could be used for promotional trailers. One voice, unmistakably Stevie J's, laughed and said, "He'll never see it coming." Scrappy's lawyer stood immediately and demanded the video be entered into the record as proof of organized exploitation. The judge agreed, his expression unreadable. The tension snapped when Scrappy stood up, voice trembling, saying, "You turned my pain into your paycheck." Stevie replied coldly, "You signed up for the fame, not the truth." The bailiff stepped closer as the shouting grew. But before order could be restored, Scrappy's lawyer made an unexpected move, filing a motion for criminal conspiracy and requesting that all financial records related to the show be turned over to federal investigators. The courtroom gasped. The judge granted the motion, and suddenly a simple divorce case had transformed into a federal probe. Outside the courthouse, social media exploded. Hashtags like Scrappy Set Up and Bambi Exposed trended worldwide. Brands pulled sponsorships, and VH1 announced an internal review while trying to contain the damage. That night, Scrappy went live on Instagram. No lights, no filters, just a broken man telling the world that fame had cost him everything. He said he didn't want revenge. He wanted truth. And when he finished, he looked straight into the camera and whispered, "They made me this storyline, but I'm taking back the script." The screen faded to black, and for once, the drama stopped feeling like entertainment and started feeling like evidence. So, now the question everyone's asking is simple but brutal. Was this ever really about love? Or was it always a performance carefully written for ratings and money? Did Bambi fall for Stevie J? Or was she just another actor in a script built to destroy Scrappy's image? And how far will VH1 go to keep its secrets buried? Because if these leaks are real, this could be one of the biggest reality TV cover-ups in years. Think about it. Fake fights, edited breakdowns, and producers turning pain into paychecks. If this doesn't make you question every tear you've ever seen on camera, I don't know what will. Drop your thoughts below, because this story is only getting darker. Do you think Scrappy deserves justice, or is he just another casualty in the fame machine? Should Bambi and Stevie J face charges, or are they victims of the same system that made them stars? Let me know what you believe really happened behind those courtroom doors. Don't forget to hit that like button if this shocked you. Subscribe if you want the unfiltered truth. And turn on notifications, because the next chapter might expose names we never expected. Never expected.